Hello and grüß Gott. We're going to start our install of our turbo kit on our 1997 Toyota 4Runner with a 2.7 liter four-cylinder engine. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take off this K&N air filtration system here and make room for, get all this kind of cleaned out here, and we're going to take these cables loose here. And then we're going to come back. So we're going to do that first, and then we'll see what we're going to do next. At this point, we have the cold air intake system off, and we're going to put a cloth in the throttle body. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the battery, and we'll have the battery disconnected for the rest of this video. Remember to disconnect the negative first, and then the positive, and then reconnect the negative last when you put it all back together. So also I want to suggest you wear your safety glasses. I have mine on. So it's always a good thing. So we're going to disconnect the battery, and then we're going to start looking at removing this heat shield over here on the manifold, I think, next. So we'll get all that done. We'll be right back. Okay, over there on the battery, you can see we went ahead and put some tape on the terminals to make that nice and safe. Shouldn't be any problems there. We put a paper towel in the throttle body here. I sprayed PB Blaster on the heat shield bolts and took them loose without any problem. Now I've thoroughly soaked the exhaust manifold nuts, and I'm going to let those soak in. And we also went underneath and we soaked the nuts that go to the catalytic converter. So the next thing I'm going to do is remove these two brackets here, and then I'm going to go underneath and remove or loosen the nuts for the catalytic converter. Then I'll loosen these nuts, and then I'll see if I can take this whole thing out as an assembly. And so we'll work that, and I'll be back. At this point, I want to do a quick progress check. So before we can take the exhaust manifold off, we have to take the EGR tube loose. So we've taken the two nuts off, and this is a Clutch brand tool. I got it from Northern Tool Company, very expensive. But oh my gosh, it makes short work of this. We used it for both these nuts and also for the catalytic converter nuts. It's a fantastic tool, gives you lots of leverage, and it can get into all sorts of weird positions. So I'm just gonna go ahead and recommend it, that you might want to consider getting it. So now, I think at this point, we're just about ready. Oh, also I forgot to mention that we took the oxygen sensor out and bagged it up and taped it up, so it's now hanging underneath the truck and loose. So we think everything is ready to come loose. So all we're going to do is take off the bolts for the exhaust header, or the nuts, and then the ones for the catalytic converter. And we are hoping to pull this whole assembly out and maybe wheedle it up through here and get it up and out. So that's what we're going to try to do next, and so we'll be back and tell you how we did. We've removed this catalytic converter and this one piece of the downpipe. And the way we did it was, earlier we had taken loose the nuts that held down the oxygen sensor here onto the cat. We tried to remove this nut here, and it just tore itself up because it was rusted in. So what I'm going to have to do is, if I need to use this bracket on the new piece, I will need to drill this out, remove it, put a new bolt in. That's really pretty easy. We had to take two 17mm bolts out where this bolts into the engine. That was really tough. They seem to have had permanent Loctite. We had to use some massively large breaker bars, and a 6-point socket, by the way. But we did it. We were able to get all that loose, got all this stuff loose, slipped it out underneath the truck, and now all we got to do is pull the header out. So we're going to pull the header next, and then that'll probably be the end of part one here. So we're going to get that far, and then we'll decide if we're going to cut here for the night and make that part one, or what we're going to do. So I'll be right back. We have the exhaust manifold off now. I wanted to remind you, you have to take the EGR pipe loose. Now it's held here with two nuts, and if you follow it along over to the throttle body area, there's two nuts that hold it on there. But there's also a bolt in the very back of the engine that's really, really hard to get to, that you have to take loose in order to pull this pipe loose, and then you can go ahead and pull the this manifold off. So we went ahead and pulled it off, And we're going to go ahead and put some paper towels into the exhaust area, the ports. And then that's going to be the end of part 1. So we hope you'll join us for part 2 when we start doing whatever's next. So that's it for today. Tschüss.